Hello, hello, and welcome to episode number 27 of Kit Room, otherwise known as episode number João Cancelo, for those kit number people. Thank you very much for joining us on this delightful, whatever day I'm going to release this, I don't know. But yeah, thank you very much to those watching. Hello, thank you. For those listening, hello. I'm just going to keep waffling. So before I do, I will chuck it over to the guest. So, Mr. Guest, who are you and what do you do in the space of football shirt content?
Hi, everyone. I'm Jamie Griffin, probably also known as Question of Football Quizzes or at question_footy. Currently the owner of a horrendous 4-week lockdown haircut here in Australia. I suppose in the shirt world community, my main thing is I'm a collector. I'm not a seller of shirts other than moving on sort of bits that I don't want anymore. But, you know, I've created a lot of footy quizzes about kits, and I'd say a lot of my followers have actually come from the kit community because I share my kit stuff through the website's Twitter account. So kind of a bit of crossover there.
Yeah. You're my fifth Australian, but you're an adopted Australian.
Yeah, that's right. I've been here. It'll be 10 years next year. As you say, I wasn't sure if I was the fifth or sixth most important voice on football shirts in Australia by your metrics, but yeah, nearly 10 years. Say 10 years next January. Normally, whenever mates hear me now, they're just like, "What's going on with your voice? You sound Australian." And then to an Australian, I just sound really English. So I'm just in that horrible in between, but Aussie citizen now, and probably not going anywhere for a while.
I did want to say when because this is the first time we've spoken audio to what normally it's through WhatsApp or whatever, and I didn't realize you had that much of what I hear is quite a twang, which is quite funny.
Yeah, there's definitely words I say, and I just stop myself and go, I just sound so Aussie now, and I've always had a bit of an accent. It's a bit, I suppose, malleable. Like when I lived in Glasgow for 5 years, and I remember going to a Spurs game and meeting up with one of my mates who I went to school with, and he's with all his lads that he goes to Spurs with, and then I leave and one of his mates goes, "How do you know him?" And he's like, "Oh, we went to school together." And he's like, "He's Scottish. Why did he go to your school?" And he's like, "No, he's not. He's from Kent." So obviously my accent's just a bit, my parents aren't from where I grew up, so I think my accent's always been a bit softer, not as strong. And yeah, I think especially now I do definitely have that twang. I'm not going to dispute that, but it's better than having a darker accent, in my opinion. So
you've got a chameleon accent. Now, hearing that is actually very upsetting for me. I've been in Birmingham for 6 years, so someone please tell me if I start getting a Birmingham accent, I will move immediately.
You're all right for now. I'll let you know.
Oh, thank you. So that's half the country pissed off. So before we jump into it, we need to know what are you wearing?
So I was going to wear something else, and then I decided I'll just stand up so you can sort of see the shirt, but it's the 2016-2017 Spurs away shirt. I was actually going to wear, I've got which I know you have too, the Eintracht Frankfurt Tetra Pak kind of 90s one, the Puma one. I was going to wear that just in the hope that you'd inadvertently wear it as well, and it would be awkward. But I was on Facebook earlier, and Spurs shared us winning a North London derby in the 2016-2017 season. I was just like, we had such a good team then. That was so much fun. We didn't win anything. I know people are going to be straight away, but we didn't win anything, and that's fine. We didn't. But as a fan, that team was so much fun to watch. And for me, when I'm thinking about football shirts, a lot of it is around the memories that you have of that shirt, and whether that's a certain player or a certain team. It doesn't have to be your own, but it just reminded me of this Spurs side. They were young, it's 4 or 5 years ago. So Kane was early 20s. It was Ali's first or second season. And we had this manager that I adore and still adore, and I'm still very upset that isn't our manager anymore. It was our last season at White Hart Lane, and that's a ground that had massive memories. And I was like, oh, I've got to wear this shirt because it's that season. And that season, we didn't lose at home that season. It was amazing. So it's just a plane going past or something, if you can hear that one. And that it's just, football shirts for me are generally about memories and what, especially as someone that's a bit of a football nostalgic, which I'll talk about later. But, you know, that team, after some pretty, quite a long time of not really loving Spurs that much. I actually remember like hearing Chris Skull and Quickly Kevin talk about, there's no football fan that hates West Ham more than West Ham fans. And I think Spurs fans are the same. There's no one that hates Spurs more than some Spurs fans. And I'm probably one of those grumpy bastards sometimes. But that team, just watching that team, was just exciting. And like, it's like, this is why I fell in love with football. This is why I'm just watching that 2-0 against Arsenal. And it was just like, oh yeah, that was such a good time to be a Spurs fan. It's all gone to shit now, but that's why I'm wearing this shirt today, because it just reminded me of that team. And it wasn't my plan, but I sort of watched something today and it just really made me think of that awesome team.
Right, fair. I'm wearing the 91-92, I think it is. Napoli away shirt. Delightful one by Umbro with many triangles and blue and white. It's an absolute delight. And I know you have this one as well.
Yeah, it's behind me somewhere. I've got a pile of shirts behind me just ready.
Oh, we will talk through some of them shortly.
But I'm sure it's actually in a pile to show you later. So,
now, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll jump into your early life then. So did you see you grew up in Kent?
Yeah, so a town called Dartford. It's right on the edge of London, northwest Kent. Most people have heard of the Dartford Tunnel, which is the tunnel under the Thames. My joke that I've told for about 20 years is that the most famous thing about my hometown is the way out, and it's a really accurate reflection on the place. But yeah, right on the outskirts of London, like just outside, but might as well be London. Geographically, I should probably be a Charlton fan because that's the closest team to me. But as you can see from my shirt, that's not who I support. And I was born in 1983, so I'm almost 40 in a couple of years, which is a bit scary. But first football I remember is Italia 90. I probably watched football before then, but that's, if you ask me of like a crystallized memory of watching a football match, it's probably England Cameroon in Italia 90 quarterfinals. My dad recorded some of the games from that tournament on VHS, even though my dad's wasn't a football fan, but he recorded them for us. And I remember like watching that England Cameroon game a lot when I was little as well. And also like we had like ITV's The Best of Italia 90. My dad was so like anal about recording that he would literally he would watch the show while recording it, and he would like stop at the adverts, cut the adverts out and start again. They're all on VHS, and that Best of Italian, I found it on YouTube like a few years ago, and I've probably watched it about 10 times since. Like, I'm a real like Italia 90 obsessive, like a bit of a tragic about Italia 90. And there was a few things going around the community, and people, if England win Euro 2020, does that mean we have to stop talking about Italia 90? And I was like, I can't stop talking about Italia 90. It's such a big facet of who I was. And then, I think we talked about before, you were sort of saying, what's the first football match you went to? And, 2 of the first 3 football matches I went to were Arsenal games. First football ground I went to was Highbury, which would have been 91, 92. My best friend from when I was like 1 till about 16, his family were all Arsenal season ticket holders. So my dad wasn't into football. And I remember going, it was Arsenal versus Notts County in what was the old First Division at Highbury. And then I went to a Chelsea-Everton game at Stamford Bridge with my football team, which was like a Wednesday night game. And then actually, I think possibly the third game I ever went to was Arsenal AC Milan European Super Cup final, when it used to be 2 legs. And it was like that great Milan team, which was pretty amazing. And I went to like I went to the old Wembley for an England schoolboys game when I was at primary school, but I tried to look it up, but could not find it, like any record of that game, but it definitely happened. I was definitely there. But yeah, like I started out as I didn't really have a team when I was very little. I think I became. I mean, I know when I became a Spurs fan, but I kind of like chopped and changed a bit and just was like, oh, I like this team, I like that team. There was, nothing really crystallized for me, but so we didn't have a torch passed on by my dad. Does that cover that first part for you? All right.
Yeah, perfectly. I mean, so what I was going to say is, so you're a Spurs fan. It's self-inflicted. You decided to support Spurs yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And funnily, so my mate Matt, who's I've known him since day one of secondary school. So you're talking 1994, so 27 years ago. And we had to sit down. It was French or something. You had to sit down next to someone, and he's like, you can't sit next to someone you went to primary school. Sit down, this guy Matt, and we're just like, all right, like really awkward, 11-year-olds, new school. And it was like, do you like football? And he's like, yeah. I was like, who do you support? He's like, Tottenham. And I was like, all right, this is good. And we're still mates now. And we both, his dad was a Charlton fan, so he should have been a Charlton fan. I shouldn't be a Tottenham fan, really. We're both massively foul glory hunters. The Spurs, the year I started supporting Spurs, they won the FA Cup. And for me, it was like, the choice was Tottenham or Arsenal because my best friend and his family were Arsenal fans. My granddad's an Arsenal fan, even though he's from mid Wales. And I remember, but Italian night, it was my thing. And even then, and it was like Gazza and Lineker both played for Spurs. And there's that 91 semi-final. It was Tottenham Arsenal. And I remember going, it must have been like some sort of working man's club or something not too far. And I went with the Arsenal fans to watch the semi-final with them. And I remember just saying, I don't know if I said it out loud, but I said, whoever scores first today, that's my team. And Gaza scored that amazing free kick from like 35 yards and basically ruined my life. I just, if Alan Smith had scored one off his arse that day first, like I would have seen like league titles, Cup Winners' Cup, so many FA Cups,
an invincible team,
everything. The Invincibles, that would have been my team. But no, Gaza scored that free kick and basically, condemned me to like delusions of grandeur and being Spursy and all that sort of thing. So yeah.
So sorry, how old were you then? Sorry,
I was 8. I would have
8,
been
right? Okay,
maybe 7, maybe just about. Probably 8.
Okay.
My birthday's in March, so yeah. So basically, the last 30 years of my life have ebbed and flowed somewhat because of the sort of snap decision made when 8, and it's all Paul Gascoigne's fault.
So did you get many kids kit? Did you get many kits as a kid?
Yeah, I was pretty lucky, I think, in that regard, because my family were like almost a dictionary definition of middle class. So like, yeah, I did used to get kids. I was pretty lucky. The first kits I had, I'll probably talk about a bit later on because they kind of go into some of the other things we talked about before having a chat. But I always remember, like, I used to love getting football kits and having football kits, and it didn't just have to be a Spurs kit. It didn't have to be an England kit. But I used to love going into like a sports shop, and it feels different now. I think the world's changed in that regard. And someone put a picture actually on Twitter, and I couldn't tell you who, and it was like of a wall in a sports shop, and it just had like, the rows of shirts and all the different ones, and that used to be so common. Like, it used to be like JJB Sports, and it was just like, used to love like the randomness of some of the kits you'd see. And I remember being like even quite young, not as young as 8, but a bit old, probably like when I was at high school, secondary school, reading World Soccer and loving, like, I was just like looking at just all these random teams and find that really interesting. Like I've got like a mid-90s like Nantes shirt, and like I definitely remember like reading loads about their like mid-90s team that had like Patrice Loco and like Randall Pedros, and I suppose it's just like I kind of liked being like the one that had like, didn't just have the like English kit. I liked having something different. I remember having that orange and blue, like, do you remember the Barcelona Kappa one?
Yeah.
The 90s one, yeah. And then I remember having like a white Milan one with like Shevchenko on the back.
Ooh.
And yeah, I'm pretty sure like the V peeled off eventually from overuse. It was like Shevchenko in the end and stuff. But my mum always used to joke, like, if she'd kept all my shirts, like, she could have like made a few quid, because I think they just all got thrown out. I mean, they wouldn't fit me now, but I'd love to have had them to give to like my little boy or something. But yeah, well, back then it wasn't. You look at like football shirts now to what they were. As a business now, it's insane, right? So yeah, like, I've always liked kits, and I was always pretty lucky that I got given kits as presents and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. So before we move on to your Twitter alter ego, we just need to touch on. So as well as Spurs being based in Australia, I'm guessing you didn't get to go to many games. You have a season ticket for Sydney FC, right?
I did.
Oh, you did.
Probably gave it up. It was actually a few years ago I gave it up, but because especially now, like, they were playing in the stadium they were playing in got knocked down, is currently being rebuilt, so they're kind of
right
in between a couple of grounds, and kind of where the old ground was like, used to be like right in the city almost. So the walk from the station to the ground, there were like good pubs and stuff, and you could get some good food and like. But I played Sig for about, I think it was about 5 years, and it was just it was like $200, which is like 120 quid, and that paid for your train travel to and from the ground for the whole season. It was like 13 or 14 games, so you were paying like $15, so less than a tenner a game, and it paid for your travel. And
yeah.
I started going with a couple of mates that I used to work with, and we were like, we never catch up. We used to do that, so we had to get season tickets, and we used to just gave us an excuse to catch up. And you know what, like, people always bag out the A-League, and there's a lot of people who criticize it, and you used to go with like people who were mates who were like from the UK, and they're like, oh, this is shit. And I was like, they're on like $2,000 a week. Like, it's not going to be Kevin De Bruyne and Aguero or, Harry Kane. They're on like, some of them are on like, probably like Vanarama national money or like League Two money, right? And it's like to me, like, a game of football is a game of football. Yeah, I would rather watch El Clasico than Sydney versus, Wellington Phoenix. But right, if two teams are well matched, like, it doesn't matter if they're really good or not so good. Like, as long as it's competitive, like, it's still a game of football to me. And like, I used to love going along. Like, it was cheap, it was a good laugh. Like, I remember going to Del Piero's home debut, and he got upstaged by Emil Heskey, which was quite funny. Heskey scored an overhead kick. And
what was Heskey? Was it New York Jets? Is that where he was?
He was Newcastle Jets.
Newcastle Jets.
Newcastle Jets. We called it. I remember that's like about 10 of us went along, and it was we called it like Del Piero Heskey Day. It was a good laugh. Like, like I still we've already sort of been talking about, like, when they're in the new ground again, like, we'll definitely go to some games. Like, if I go up to Sydney, because I still go up there a bit to see mates. Just distance makes it difficult, and that happened to me with Spurs a bit as well when I first moved over here. It becomes more difficult if it's not as accessible to you. Like, you don't do it as much. But like, I used to love it. Like, again, it's a game of football. Like, yeah, it's, as I say, it's not Man City v Liverpool, but neither should it be when they're getting paid like 100th of the wage.
Well, exactly.
And Ollie Roos to the Australian Olympic team. Sorry, they've got so many different things. They beat Argentina 2-0 last night, and a lot of A-League players in the team. So, they do. It's not a bad league. It's just there's no money in it, really.
No, I think it's the English outlook, because MLS also gets slated. But I'll stay up and I'll watch an MLS game at like 11 p.m, 1 a.m, which I know is nothing for you if you want to watch any game in the UK. But But no, I
You never
find the
sleep
MLS.
though. It feels like.
Pardon?
So it feels like you never sleep.
No, that is true. Every time I message Alex, he's just like, just go to fucking bed. But it's always like I always reply to people when I finish work, and that tends to be at like 1
Yeah,
or 2 a.m. Um,
exactly.
so, but I'm for most of that, I'm not just sat up, but no, I don't sleep a lot. No, I do just in the day. So I'm
Yeah.
a vampire. So let's talk about your Twitter account then. Questionable football quizzes or at footy quizzes, was it?
Question_footy with an
Questionable
IE.
as well, footies.
Yeah.
Um, so how did this quiz site and quiz account come about?
So it all really started when COVID hit in 2020, so early mid 2020, and we went into lockdown over here. UK already were, and some mates of ours, we were like, oh, you know what? Like, we're all bored. It's a group of four of us over here, all mates, all from the UK, and we've got a United fan, Everton fan, me, and a Palace fan, and we're all good mates. So we all normally meet up, go to football together and stuff, and we're all a bit bored. Like, let's have a Zoom call, and we're like, right, let's just do a football quiz. So we're all like, let's all write, 20 questions about whatever, and we did that, and we never actually had the Zoom call. And I remember, like, as I was writing the quizzes, like, I've always liked like trivia of any kind, like doing a pub quiz and stuff. I always kind of enjoyed that, and I was actually enjoying writing the quizzes, the football quizzes, and like, oh, it's quite fun. And I was like, oh, I'll send it. I'll write some more, and I shared it with some mates at home, and I was just like, oh, I know like UK had it so much worse than we did in terms of lockdowns and stuff. So they were all really bored. I was like, oh, just here's some quizzes that I've written, and it was all from scratch. I hadn't just like copied and pasted it from anywhere. Like, I quite enjoyed like going on websites and finding information, just like refreshing my memory a bit. Some of it I didn't know, so it was like me learning stuff too. And then one of my mates, mate Tom, was just like, you should like kind of put that on a website or something. Like, it's really good. Like, I think people really like it. And I was like, oh, you know what? Like, I'll give it a go and just see how it goes. And it was a bit of a distraction for me as well, and kept me busy. And it's kind of grown from there. Like, it started as just me putting up quizzes, and like I think about how primitive it was when I first started, and like all the like difficulties I had with like getting the quizzes on the page and things like that. And it was, yeah, it started from that, and now it probably takes up far too much of my time. My wife would definitely say it takes up too much of my time, but yeah, it's grown into like a little community, and it's lots of people that I didn't know 18 months ago, yourself being one of them, I suppose.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because from there, from just putting a few quizzes on the site, you contacted me and we put together a quiz. But from here, it's you've created the World Cup of football quizzes, I think it was called, and then you've done a
It's the World
Euro
Cup,
one.
World Cups, yeah, it was sort of the first one. Yeah, and like the quiz tournaments are probably more what I do now than just the website and quizzes for people to dip into. Because there's loads of websites that have, quite honestly, like really good quizzes, and like Guardian will do quizzes on the website, BBC will do them. That's not like, my quizzes would have had to be like exceptional for them to stand out, and like the content that was already there is pretty good already. So like, I'm not saying what I do isn't good, but it would have to be amazing to stand out in that sort of space. Like, it was already really competitive. And like, I've been chatting with people, and it's like, how do we make this like a bit more of a competitive thing, not just just a quiz you do and that's kind of it, and there's because people like the competition. And I was like, how could I run it as like a tournament? And then it became like, I want it to be like a proper tournament. And like, the World Cup of World Cups was 32 teams, people in 8 groups of 4, and playing like head to head. So if you got 9 and someone else gets 8, then you get 3 points for a win. And then it followed that system. And Yeah, like we just did one for the Euros, and literally it was exactly the same format as the Euros. That 24 teams, 16 teams go through, and it was also sort of, I actually based the rounds around it, because Italy was game one. It was like Italy's route to the final, so it was time. So Italy's first game was the first game in the tournament. Italy's second game was the second game and stuff, and it was, you know, the first one where people actually paid me to do it, you know, which is a big deal, you know, because it's easy to do stuff when it's free, right? But when someone asks you for money, you know, you kind of, you know, and I was really nervous about it because I was like, oh, what if people just think this is something they're happy to do for free? And it sold out in like 3 days. So that was like a bit overwhelming, like a bit amazing. Like it's not expensive, but it's still, you've still got to put your card details in somewhere and give someone your money. And, you know, the plan is really to use that, the small amount of revenue it generates to sort of make the site bigger and better and advertise. And it also allows me to, you know, get better prizes for tournaments and things like that. So, you know, we've been, you know, you've probably seen it, I've probably tagged you in a few things. Like we're working on our like Masters League, which is just, that's the next thing I wanted to do. I was like, we need to try and, you know, constantly be thinking about new ideas and how we can do it. And it's sort of on the idea that, you know, great teams win league titles. They don't just win cups. Like Spurs are a great cup team, but they never win the league, right? Whereas Man United are a great team because they always win the league. Well, you know, we're a great team because they always used to win the league. I haven't won it for a while now, but you know, and just having it over that longer form. Like a mate was like, that's a good idea. It's a bit like Fantasy Premier League, but for quizzes, like it's a bit more of a long-term investment. Like it's not something that's over in, you know, 2-3 weeks. It's going to go for 10 weeks because there'll be 20 teams. And, you know, when we're talking now, there's only 5 of the 20 spots left. You know, being able to really sort of up the ante on the prizes. Like we've got some gift vouchers for a couple of shirt sellers, some socks coming from Soccer Club, and been working with Sports Club Maps as well, just to get like an amazing little gift pack of their stuff. Like I'm a big fan of their stuff. I've kind of branched out a little bit from the sort of just buying shirts. I'm kind of become a bit like, oh, I like getting a nice print, nice t-shirts, things like that. And like, yeah, just for me, it's all been about, you know, having those awesome prizes as well. And I just think it's going to be pretty exciting. It'll be quite a lot of fun. So, you know, if people want to sign up, there aren't many spots left if you're watching this soon. But yeah, like it's been awesome. Like the kit community for me have been like the real like integral part of like the journey I've been on with it, and you know, probably being the really supportive people, because my account's been a bit of quizzes and then also my kind of kit stuff too, you know. So
well, I was going to say I can attest because I've taken part in 2. I think it was the first 2 World Cup ones I took part in.
Yeah.
And I mean, I did pretty poorly personally, but it was all good fun, and I do like that. You give a little reasoning behind. So if I answer the question wrong, you will let me know the answer, and then just a little factoid. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like my point has always been like whenever someone said to me like, oh, I haven't done very well, like, oh, I'm pretty rubbish at this. Like, and there's mates I've got that aren't that great at it, but they still do them. And it's like, do you enjoy it? Like, that's all that matters. Like, I don't, you know, if you don't enjoy it, don't have to do it. Like, that's fine by me. But it's always been a thing of like, it's for football fans. Like, and even if you don't know stuff, as you say, like the reason why I have that little sort of snippet of information after a question is it's kind of like your knowledge of football's increased. It's not just like, oh, I got it wrong. But it's like, oh, I've got it wrong. I might remember something that's interesting. Like you might, from a quiz, you might just pick up an interesting piece of information that makes you want to learn more about someone or something. And yeah, I think the important thing for me has always been, it's like I want people that maybe, because the quizzes are hard. That was always the point. The quizzes are not meant to be easy, because I don't think people if everyone's getting 10 out of 10, like there's no real, the competition side doesn't work. And like, I've always just wanted people, even if they've not done that well, to like still enjoy it. Like, that's important to me. And if people aren't enjoying it, like, there's literally no point in me doing it. And, you know, and that's always, you know, I'm not saying that in a, like a, whatever way. I just, you know, that's it. I do it because I want people to enjoy it. And like, I get a lot out of people giving me that feedback that they still enjoy it. And I get more out of the people that haven't done well enjoying it than the people that do well enjoying it. Yeah.
100%, because I'm one of the people who don't do well. But so what's next for questionable quizzes then? Do you have anything else on the cards? Do you have anything in the future?
Yeah, the Masters League is the big thing right now, and we'll keep going with the tournaments. Like, I've got about, so when I write a tournament, generally, well, not the early ones like the World Cups, but if I use the Euros as an example, when I wrote the Euros quiz tournament, I wrote 3 Euros quiz tournaments. So I have 2 for future reference that I can use. I've got 2 on like the 2000s, and, you know, just to give me, so they'll be running. And the whole point is I'm not going to run one every month, because of my sanity. And, you know, I have another job and a family, and, you know, you don't want to see minor quiz and Australia's 5th most influential shirt battered to death by his own wife with his laptop for being on it all the time. But yeah, I keep those running. Sort of, my aim is to do like 4 a year. That way there's not overkill, and I'm not asking people for too much, you know, both financially and from a time point of view. I mean, the point with the quizzes, they're only meant to take 5 minutes. So it's not like, and you get 24 hours to do them. And, you know, I've started sort of doing on the site question of the day, and it's just a little thing just as a bit more of a regular feature. Just, you know, generally, so yesterday's was about Stuart Downing, because yesterday was Stuart Downing's birthday. You know, things like that. Yeah, and I think it's a bit of consolidation now, because we've done quite a lot, and it's just the Masters League is a big thing, and hopefully that's a success. And it's kind of just growing what we've got and trying to make the tournaments bigger. And, you know, that means the more people that are involved, the better prizes I can give out. And yeah, that's really where it is next. And just, I think, just enjoying like being in the space and interacting with people is really nice too, especially with, you know, just how disconnected our world is at the moment because of COVID. I mean, you guys are all out and about now, right? But we've had a pretty crazy 18 months as a human race. So, you know, we're back in lockdown. So for me, it's kind of nice interaction as well. But yeah, just trying to, for now, just keep thinking about what new ideas we can have. There isn't anything other than the Masters League really at the moment. But just kind of keeping on and, you know, listening to feedback as well. And, you know, if anyone ever wants to write a quiz, or they want me to write a quiz about a certain thing, like, I try and do that too.
100%. I like the idea of, like I say, I've taken part in a few. It's all good fun. And they don't take long, as you say. I used to do mine on my way to work.
Yeah, I know a few people used to sit on the loo and do them.
So let's move over to kits then.
Yeah, that's what we're here, right? Really, let's be honest.
Yeah, everyone's going to jump to the word of a time. This is I don't know. So roughly, if you know, how many kits do you have, and are there any themes that run through your collection, or do you just collect what you can collect?
Yeah, so I mean, there are like a few like themes that sort of bubble under the surface. I wouldn't say I have this like ridiculously, like, some people have really focused themes right on their kits, and I don't really have that. Like, and I think like my collection is really small. I think of it as really small. My wife doesn't think it's really small, and most of my friends don't think it's really small. But I reckon there are a lot of people, when I say the number now, go, oh yeah, that's not very big. Like, I reckon I've got like 70, 80 shirts. I had a bit of a clear out recently. Like, I've kind of changed like my attitude to buying, and I reckon a lot of people probably go for a similar thing. Like, I know when I first started, it was all about volume, and I would see a shirt on Classic Football shirts for like 15 quid, and I'd be like, that's all right, I quite like that. Yeah, I'll buy that. And then now, like, it's, you know, what I do is change. You know, I bought some shirts that for me are quite expensive, and a number I have is like a number I'm really comfortable with. Like, I don't feel like I want my collection to like grow in terms of size, but I want it to kind of grow in terms of quality of shirt. And, you know, I'm sure it will grow in size somewhat, but, you know, it's almost like if I buy 5 new shirts, I'll probably have a think about what 5 shirts I have already that I might try and just sell on. And, you know, you talked about themes, and like for me, I'm definitely more of a 90s shirt person. I don't think I'm alone. I think that, you know, there's a lot of the community would be in that sort of space as well. And, you know, it's a pretty golden era for kits. I mean, the only issue living in Australia with 90s kits, and the current shirt you're wearing is a prime example, is 90s polyester is effing horrible, especially in Australian summertime. So unfortunately, a lot of the best pieces in my collection, they can't be worn for about 4 months a year because it's just too bloody hot. And they're just, you know, they're not, you know, it's none of this vapor knit, Adizero, whatever, you know, player spec stuff in the 90s. It was just like, here's some polyester. We've designed it beautifully, but the material's horrible. Yeah, but for me, like 90s shirts, and like I've ended up with a lot of England kits. I mean, me and you have talked before about England. You don't own one, right? You've said that. That's fine.
I don't said that many a time.
Doesn't mean that you're some sort of traitor, or, you know, I don't think it's treasonous to not own an England kit. Actually, my brother had a bit of a clear out recently, and like my brother doesn't really wear shirts and play football as much or anything anymore, and he had loads of England shirts.
I remember you telling me.
And like my brother was always a lot bigger than me, but now I've like caught him up in terms of size because I just like don't do enough exercise, and he probably does a bit more. But yeah, he sent us. So I ended up with, I've got quite a sizable England collection, and there's like shirts that I wanted that were England shirts too. So like actually like a good, and I don't consider myself this really like patriotic Englishman. Like I struggle with like Englishness, but we won't go into that. It's a much bigger thing now. But I am English. Like I am English. That's where I was born. That's where I grew up. That's, you know, that was my team. And, you know, as I talked about, like Italian 90, like that's what got me hooked. And like the 90s for me, it's like I'm definitely in that group of people, you know, the Quickly Kevin listening sort of 90s football tragics. Like football was better in the 90s. It fucking wasn't. Like football now is like, you know, if you put on like the best game from 1995 or even the worst game from 1995 and compared it to a similar game now, like the standard, like the fitness and the technique and everything is so much better. But, you know, I think that's just like, I love the 90s because I was innocent about football then. Like you know, the money, that's when the money started coming into the game. But like how I watch football and how I consume football and discuss it now has changed. Like I don't go to games as much anymore. Like I used to be a season ticket holder at Spurs. Like I'll go to games, and I mean, even when I moved over here, I watch significantly less football than I used to. And like, you know, I used to watch football all the time, and now I remember saying, but if I was on my own and it was a Barcelona Real Madrid Champions League final, I probably wouldn't watch it. Like for me, like football's a social thing, right? And like talking about football is a social thing. So watching a game on my own, unless I'm invested in it, I don't do it as much anymore. And I think, but the 90s I just loved football, and it was just everything, right? It was my world when I was a teenager. So, you know, like that's why I love 90s kits, and 90s kits are beautiful as well. So, you know, and I think someone was talking about, we're going for a bit of a resurgence in kits now, like in terms of design and stuff. And like, I think people in 20 years time will look back on now as like almost like a pretty golden age of kit design as well, I think. But, you know, for me, I don't buy many new shirts. I mean, we were actually talking before we started recording about the new Spurs shirt, the away one, and it's very divisive. We won't go into it too much, but you know, I'd consider buying it because it's just something different. And I didn't like it at first, but it's grown me very quickly. But I don't really buy, like, I don't get excited by new shirt releases. I get excited by someone like you going, I've just bought this 1996 Juventus track top off eBay. I'm like, oh God, I remember that was amazing, you know? And yeah, like, I think I'm a real, you know, as I said, I'm a bit of I'm an Italian 90 tragic. I'm a 90s football tragic. Like, so for me with shirts, 90s is the main thing. I love Hummel kits.
Oh, yeah.
That's another thing. I'm jealous of the teams now that have Hummel as their kit manufacturer, because I'm like, oh, they used to make our kits. And I think, again, there's that nostalgia. They used to make Spurs kits, and they made some great Spurs kits. And another theme that when I was thinking about this part, I was like, well, you know, because we'll talk about it soon, but like my Grail shirt, I bought my Grail shirt and I was like, well, what do I do now? Like, I had that, I think Chris Chat's shirt talked about that when he bought his Universitario Peru one. He's like, I bought it, like, what do I do now? And I definitely had that like, the moment I agreed to buy it, I couldn't sleep. Right? I couldn't sleep. It was like 11 o'clock at night, and I had to go up at 5 for work. I couldn't sleep. I was buzzing. And then I got it, and I'm scared to wear it. And I'm like, well, what's next? And then I was like, oh, what? I did start a little challenge, and it was trying to get all the shirts from all the remaining, like, British territories and dependencies. So it's a really random one. Like, I always had this really weird obsession with islands, and like I did like a master's thesis on like small islands, and I kind of read a few books about all these little pockets of the empire. And like, I'm not any sort of imperialist. I read the empire was pretty horrible. But I was a history student, so that sort of stuff, I just find it really interesting. And like, I've got like I've got the Chagos Islands shirt, like a Turks and Caicos in the Caribbean, St Helena, Falkland Islands one. Again, it's a bit controversial, like an Isle of Man one. But there's ones like, I think there's Anguilla, Montserrat, British Virgin Islands. Like, you know, part of me thinks that maybe that needs to be my next thing, because then I've got something to work towards. So that's like a little bit of a dormant theme. So there, my 90s is the main one though. Reality, like 90s is the main one, you know, and that stems from being, you know, that's my like nostalgic memory of football and idealized memory of football.
Yeah, I talking about when you're buying your Grail. I just looked because my Grail was the VFL Bochum 97 shirt.
Oh yeah, you got that recently. What a belter!
And I've just had to look. So I ordered that from Moldova. I remember, like, I was just sat waiting for the postman every day. It's like, is this from Moldova? No, it's not. And then when it arrived,
were you not just in a towel when you opened it? Was that shirt? Or was that another shirt?
That was another shirt.
You in a towel?
No, you're not. Don't worry. That was the 94 City away shirt. I think it is the purple one with the yellow stripe.
What happened? Not making up memories of you in a towel.
No. It was. I do
that, but it's good to know that there is source material.
No, fair. No, it's on Twitter. So the story behind that one was DHL were delivering it, and they were meant to deliver it the day before, and they just never showed up. And then I was tracking them, and there's a petrol station about 5 minutes down the road from, like, a 5-minute walk, about a 30-second drive. And they were there, and then they just went all the way around, like, Birmingham city centre. They went fucking everywhere. I was like, right, okay, they're not going to be here soon, so I'm going to jump in the shower. And I've been waiting, and it was meant to come at like 11 o'clock, and this was like 3 o'clock. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to have a shower. And then as soon as I got fucking shampoo in my hair, I hear a van door outside close. I was like, I know exactly what that is. So I peep out the window, I can see the yellow of a DHL van. I was like, oh, you dick. So
is that
yes.
Is that like the white one, or was that a purple one?
It's purple one.
Purple with, like, I know what the thin white.
I think it's white. It's either white or gold. No, I think you might be right with white. It's the white one you're thinking.
Brother and Umbro.
Yeah. The white one, that one.
Got some, yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. I've got I'm pretty nerdy, right? I've got these you're probably too young. They're like pro set cards.
Okay.
You heard of them? And there's
I
some
think
Man City legends are in here.
did you
'Cause it's the
tweet?
whole.
Didn't you get like a box of Scottish ones, or
Yeah,
does
that
it?
was the other day. It's I
Yeah.
need to get out more. That's like a fact. I'm just trying to find the City ones.
While you look through them, I was just because when you were talking about Grail, so for my dissertation at uni, I did a media degree, so I made a
Yeah.
documentary on football shirt collecting and collectors.
Yeah.
It is probably the worst thing I've ever made, so I've removed all traces of it off the internet, and I might revisit it and try again. But
Yeah. I mean,
for that,
now. Now.
I did a tour of the Class Football Shirts warehouse when it was next to the Etihad, and I spoke
Yeah.
to Doug about it. And one of the things he said was, with collectors, it's like once you've got your grail, it arrives, and you're like, right, okay, now what? Like, what's next? So I think it for when it comes to holy grails and the purchase of them, it's the pursuit which is the enjoyable part.
Yeah.
Because
The classic, like, I remember doing this at like A-level English. It was like the journey's more important than the destination, right? It's like, and
got
like,
need.
I love the shirt. But I'm a bit scared to wear it. I've only worn it twice, and I've had it about 3 months now, I reckon, 2-3 months. And I love the shirt. Like, it's, it was my shirt. That's what I wanted. But I'm a bit like, I need to, where do I go now? I found you some cities. We've got Tony Coton with a tash.
That is a delightful shirt.
Isn't it? And it's a delightful tash as well.
No, well, that too.
Neil Poynton without a tash.
Oh, okay. I've got that.
With a tash.
Oh, we're changing it up. I have that shirt. It's a lovely shirt.
Steve Redmond.
Oh, okay.
Never heard. I've heard of him, but couldn't tell you anything about him. Keith Curl. You would know. I used to love David White, from what I remember him. He was just rapid.
These are this shirt that they're wearing. I have recently bought off eBay as well, and it stunk. So I put it on a very low wash, and the sleeve print is peeled a little bit, like it's flaked off a little bit, and I'm absolutely livid with myself.
You can't win, mates. Yeah, was it you? Was that the one you shared, where you like put it in a bucket and it was like the water went green?
No, that was the Borussia Mönchengladbach jacket that I won for €1. Yeah, that arrived. It just stunk of cigarettes and had cigarette burns all up the sleeve.
Yeah, just like, why would you send it like that? And then you've got Big Niall Quinn.
Oh, what a guy!
Yeah, legend, Big Niall. Yeah, that's like, again, that's my nostalgia trip, like pro set cards. But yeah. I can't remember where we're up to now. I can't. Sorry,
well,
derailed your narrative.
No, don't be silly. We can now go 2-footed into some of these kits to the one side if you want to. Because I think that is the part. And while you're getting them, you can inform everyone into how you got collecting. Was it the chase of the 90s nostalgia?
Yeah, like, I've always liked them. I've always liked kits, and I remember, like, being at uni and playing 7-a-side or 5-a-side, and I was like, wearing like a pink Palermo shirt because it was different, and talking about, like, I'd have that Barcelona shirt or that Milan shirt. Sorry, my cat's just like rustling around in the background. And then I kind of stopped, and then I kind of went on. Didn't used to wear kits to Spurs just because it was too much hassle in London to wear colours, which is a bit sad. But then I like go on holiday, and like I remember going to Malta and getting a Valletta shirt, going to Budapest and getting like a Videoton shirt and stuff. And then I just kind of went back to it. But they're right behind me, so I don't really need to move that much, to be honest. But yeah, that's kind of, when I started collecting again, I've already sort of said, it's talking about that bulk of just, you just bought shirts that you liked with no real connection. And now it's very, it's much more like thought about, like, why do I like that shirt? Oh, it's a 90s shirt. It reminds me of this, this, and this. And, it means you spend a lot more on one shirt than you used to. But that's kind of, that's where I am now. As I say, very 90s heavy. But I'm all right with that. I'm good with that.
It's probably the better 90s Bundesliga, the best era of kits.
No, we're going to disagree there, but it's all right.
Oh, you 90s Serie A? Are you?
Yeah, but
football shirt Italia.
What you love is what you love, and what I love is what I love. Like, neither of us are right and neither of us are wrong. We have an opinion.
No.
You shouldn't be offended, right? I know it's 2021 and that I should be like calling you every name under the sun and just saying you're wrong, but that's not how it is.
Or maybe we should go on a blocking spree. Maybe. Oh, that's topical.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what shirts have you got to one side?
Right.
I know this.
I'll start with my grail, and for me, it was always one grail and one grail only. There are people that are like, I've my 5 of my grails, right? And I don't get that, but again, that doesn't mean they're wrong. It's just a difference of opinion, right? For me, it's the Holy Grail, and
I think I remember this arriving actually. If it's the shirt I'm thinking of,
was England 1993, only ever worn once. Why I love it is because it's England Italian United and it's beautiful. I had it as a kid. Helps. It was also in the World in Motion video, and I love New Order, so that's another big thing for me. And I reckon that's another reason why it's more difficult to get, because I probably New Order fans that want it too. And then for me, that was I'll just kind of keep flowing. That in itself sort of completed the set.
Right. Okay.
Strangely though, as much as I love the third one, I think this is a nicer shirt. For me, it's a nicer shirt.
So that is my least favorite of 3, but I don't know if that's just because of my allegiances to City and I don't like red that much.
Yeah, I'm not a big red kit person either. I agree with you because Arsenal, but for me, objectively, it's a nicer kit. But again, when I talked about shirts earlier, and I said it's about memories for me, right? So this is the memory. This is World in Motion. And you said they only ever wore it once. The only ever player to score a goal for England in that shirt is Dennis Wise.
Of all people.
Yeah, and then the next one, it's probably a little bit controversial, but again, it just goes back to that memories thing because it's a club-produced reproduction of a retro shirt, right?
Oh, okay.
So it's this yellow, it'd be 99, probably 89 to 91 Spurs away shirt, right? And the reason why that one's so special to me now is 2 reasons. It's the first Spurs shirt I ever owned, which my mum bought for me when I was 8. And it was cheap in the local independent sports shop in Dartford because Tottenham had just moved to Umbro and it was end of season kit. But it's when we got to the Champions League final in 2019, that's the shirt I wore. And I remember messaging my mum. My mum doesn't give a shit about football. Like, doesn't care. Didn't care. But I was just like, I'm wearing this because it's the first shirt I bought and you bought it for me. And like, without getting morbid, like my mum passed away 18 months ago. And so like now, obviously that shirt has even more attached. And that would probably be my next grail, that shirt, like a proper original one. But I'm not a big fan of retro remakes in general, but like I get why people get them. But if it's got the manufacturer logo on it and stuff, it's much better. I've got my grail shirt in a school drawer because at the time that's all I could afford, and that's fine. But they definitely look infinitely better when they actually look like the original, right?
Yeah, of course.
Again, it's just each their own. If people don't mind it, they buy it. Like, it doesn't bother me, does it? So yeah, and then I talked to you. We were talking earlier because you were wearing some 90s Serie A. I've only got about 4 or 5, I think. 4, but I love them because they're 90s and they're Serie A. So for me, I think people of my age are very like Serie A because we had Gazzetta with James Richardson on a Saturday, and then you had the big Serie A, and Serie A was the biggest league in the world. So I've got, it's like an early 90s Inter one.
Yeah, yeah.
One. This one, which you might recognise.
Oh, I reckon. Why have I seen that one before?
Yeah, I've seen that somewhere before. I think now I bought this brand new with tags from Classic Football Shirts for 70 quid.
That was the same as this one. They must have had a few of them, or what?
It was in like the packaging and like the cardboard all like almost done. But it was like, I dread to think what they charge for that now.
Oh no, because I remember it arriving. I ripped it out of the bag. Like I was at work at the time. I ripped it out of the bag and ripped the tags off. And I turned, and there was someone stood behind me. He's like, what are you doing? Why are you taking the tags off? I was like, I'm going to wear it.
Yeah, and then a good. I think everyone has a bit of soft spot for Palmer, especially my vintage, because they were just that team, and especially I think they were even better. Like later when they had like Thuram and Cannavaro and all that. And then I'm a bit of an AC fan. I know I've got an Inter shirt there, but I'm not so beholden that I can't buy a beautiful Inter shirt. And then this one as well. They're my sort of 90s Serie A, and I've got a load of other 90s shirts.
That is very nice. I've got two Inter shirts and one AC Milan shirt, and all three of them are the away shirts. I don't own the famous red and black or blue and black stripes, which is very funny to me.
Yeah, I've got this one, which I got at there's a market store in Sydney called Polyester FC. It's run by a City fan, and I got this Welsh shirt, and that's kind of been a thing for me. Is like my mum, who passed away, was Welsh, so I really sort of started, I suppose, trying to understand that part. Like I never really thought about being part Welsh until recently. And I definitely want to get some of the Wales like Umbro shirts, like my grails shirt. There's a red Wales version, and it's better than the England one if we're honest. But it's very hard to get. And I'm just going to see if there's any other good 90s ones to show. I might show you the Nantes one. That's a good one.
Ooh, that is very nice.
Literally the world's longest sleeves. It's a short sleeve shirt, apparently, but
is it a 3/4 length sleeve?
It almost is, mate. It's over. It's definitely over the elbow. Massive. And then let me just see what else we've got. I actually really like this one because it's an Nere shirt.
Oh yes.
Early 90s Uruguay one. Always wanted the Nere one. They're really hard to get, but it's in really good nick, and I think I paid like £100 for it or something, which isn't too bad, I don't think.
No, that's not bad at all.
Like that's probably, that's only a small section of my collection, but it's probably, as I said, very 90s heavy. And 90s Serie A over 90s Bundesliga, but I do have a couple of 90s Bundesliga. But for me, as I say, just Australian summertime isn't good. Is that cat being really noisy for your audio?
No, it's not. I can just hear it. It's making me laugh because I know what the noise is.
Yeah, he's on a carrier bag. I'm surprised he doesn't jump. Normally he jumps out. And I have to do a lot of Zoom meetings for work, and he normally shows his ass to the boss, stuff like that. So that's always good.
At least he can and you can.
Yeah.
So that was it for kits, and I think it's time to close up now. So one of the questions I ask every guest is to celebrate the arts, because they were probably the most hit in terms of last year, and actually still now things are still being cancelled. I've got tickets to see Tim Minchin in November. If that gets cancelled, I'm going to be absolutely livid. However, if you'd like to recommend a song, artist, or album for everyone to go check out, if they so wish, then
I was just like, I was thinking like along football lines as well, and I was like, you know what, it's just To Be a Regret by New Order. It fits in with the World in Motion, and it was also used as a Goal of the Month song by Match of the Day in the 90s. So just imagine either King Clancy or Peter and Love slaloming through a stagnant back line to the tune of Regret by New Order, and then Ray Stubbs telling you to put your vote in. Yeah. any New Order, just you can't go wrong with New Order. Yeah,
fair enough. And finally, if anyone would like to find you on the interwebs, then where is the best place for them to do so?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook as just Questionable Football Quizzes. Twitter is @question_footy. Twitter's probably the best one of the three. I am on Instagram. I don't do very much on Instagram. I'm just a bit too old. And then the website is just questionablequizzes.com.
Perfect. I'll put all links in the description for your socials. But thank you very much for joining us. And thank you, the listener or viewer, depending on how you are consuming this bit of media, for joining us this delightful, whatever day I release this. I hope that the weather in the UK will not be as hot as a kiln. And I know I'm saying this while sat next to an Australian, but you know what the heat is like in the UK. It's like radiation.
Yeah, and it's all relative, right? Like, I get cold now and it's like 17 degrees. And I'm like, what's wrong with me? But thanks for having me on, mate. Like, I've really enjoyed this. It's been good to actually properly chat rather than just through text form.
But it's been a long time coming as well.
Talk a bit shirts and talk a bit football with someone, especially when I'm in lockdown. So I had a Zoom call with some mates at the weekend and we just talked about football for about 3 hours and it was so nice. So thanks for having me on. Thanks to everyone for listening. You do a great job with these, mate. I'm honoured to have been on, even though you probably think I've pestered you and given jokes about you've not invited me. But yeah, appreciate you having me on, mate. And it's been lovely talking shirts.
No, absolute pleasure. So once again, thank you very much for listening, watching. If you'd like to subscribe, if you're not, then yes, hey, please do. On either YouTube or podcast platforms, it will come into your newsfeed every time I release a new episode, as these currently aren't on a consistent basis because, hey, I got to work, man's got to eat, which actually, yeah, I've mentioned this a few times. You're the person who says that I don't eat because of these shirts that I buy.
Say, how do you eat? Because you always buy shirts. Like, how do you eat?
Yeah. Oh, I went through this in the last episode because I work in a restaurant and I get free food. Yeah. That is how I eat.
Yeah. Well, just, you don't eat like a fat bastard like I do as well as another thing, So.
I don't know about that. Chinese at least 4 times a week.
Well,
but
you obviously got good metabolism. You wait till you hit your late 20s, mate. It'll go wrong. You're starting to size up. You'll say it's because of the brand, but it's not.
Most of my 90 shirts are large anyway, so
yeah,
I've got
the generousness of 90 shirts.
I've got a bit of wiggle room for a bit.
Mate. Loved it.
No, pleasure. So thank you very much, and we will see you in the next episode, whenever that is. Bye bye.